Geetu, have you got a joke for us?
I have got not one, not two, but 3 jokes.
3 jokes!
I know, I've been busy.
The pandemic was a huge moment where we were like, obviously stuck at home. And so the thing we did was, let's binge a sitcom.
Is it time to binge The Office again?
Yeah. Could this episode be any better? I don't think so. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to 2 Tickets Please with me, Nalin, and oh boy, I've got to say what an episode you've tuned into, because this one is going to be legend. Wait for it. Now joining me today is someone who is no stranger to the show. She hasn't been around for a while, but that does not mean that we were on a break! So fear not, she is back. So to all of you listening and watching out there, please join me in welcoming the one, the only assistant to the regional manager, Geetu.
What a privilege it is to be back in the office.
Yes, that's right. Could this episode be any better? I don't think so. So Geetu, today we're going to be talking all about sitcoms, right? What we love, what we hate. And as 2 sitcom aficionados, I think we're best placed to break this down.
I agree, you know.
I want to jump into it. But before that, we've got some old business to attend to.
We do.
Yeah, I want everyone to sort of cast their minds back to episode 4. It's a flashback.
Nalin.
Yes.
Why was the strawberry late to the party? I know.
Okay, why was the strawberry late to the party?
Because it was stuck in a jam.
In episode 4, you told us a joke. It was received with mixed response. So the takeaway was that you were going to find another joke or a better joke to add to your arsenal, either from audience suggestions or just from your own research. So I think the time is now. Geetu, have you got a joke for us?
I have got not one, not 2, but 3 jokes.
3 jokes?
I know, I've been busy.
Okay.
You know?
Well
so
done.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Feet are grounded.
Absolutely.
Shoulders rolled back. All right. Question. When is a door not a door?
When is a door not a door?
When it's a jar.
Very good, very good. I think this is very much in your zone of comedy. Excellent. Yes,
okay,
well done.
Brace yourself for number 2. Question. What did one ocean say to the other?
What did one ocean say to the other?
Nothing. They just waved.
Very well put. Absolutely. Yes, oceans do wave. This is all making a lot of sense. Great.
Okay,
so far, so
I need some props for my 3rd one.
Oh, I love this. I am so excited. Okay.
Question.
Oh, I feel like I'm talking to Hermione Granger, but okay, yeah.
What bear is best?
I think that is a ridiculous question.
False. Black bear.
Black bear? Interesting. Well, Dwight. Well done, Geetu. Well done.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well done.
Netflix special. Roll it in.
Yeah. Now, I must ask you, as a follow-up, as I always do.
Yeah.
How many of these jokes were original? Moving on. Exposed. Geetu.
I never said they were my jokes.
That's
I
true.
was sharing these jokes for the collective upliftment of humanity so that in moments like in our world today, we have something to fall back to. But I'm not taking credit for any of them.
Fair enough. And you know what? I think what you just brought up is a really interesting thought, because things we fall back to, for me, and I know for you, has generally been sitcoms.
Always.
Right? I remember the pandemic was a huge moment where we were like, obviously stuck at home, didn't have much going on. And so the thing we did was, let's binge a sitcom. And that's, I think, when you and I became #1 fans of The Office.
I know. We just completely smashed through that. And I think The Office is one of those shows where, for me, I mean, I think it comes around like during winter and you're like, is it time to binge The Office again?
Yeah.
Have we forgotten it enough to binge again?
Yeah.
So it's one of those shows that, you know, you can keep watching clips on YouTube.
True.
Of like the best moments.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
It is. And sitcoms in general, I think, have really been a source of, I don't know, comfort?
Yeah.
If that's the right word to put it.
Like a cozy hug.
Yeah, a little bit, right? And I think that's what makes sitcoms really great, because they're, I think, quite rewatchable, right? So you can watch it once and then give it a few years and watch it again. And even if you know what's going to come, you somehow still enjoy it. But I think, there are other reasons too, right? Why we enjoy sitcoms so much.
What I find about sitcoms that is, for me, the most comforting is the setting is always predictable. You know that the dynamics or the situation will exist in this one place that over time you keep revisiting. And so you know where it's going as well. You know the setting really well. And then you know the characters really well. So it's someone that you start to build a relationship with. And the predictability of it for me is what feels the most comforting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think what happens also is when you follow a certain group of characters over seasons, essentially, I don't know, they become kind of like family members in a weird way, right? They become like people who you revisit, and because you know their quirks and you know like what makes them tick. When something happens situationally, which is what a sitcom is, right? A situational comedy. Situationally, something funny happens. We inherently know, oh my God, this person's going to react this way because of all of the shared experience we've kind of had up till this point. So that's really cool. I think that it's almost like for that period of time when you're watching a show, you've kind of introduced more people into your life. And
it's true.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
It's got me, I'm having a flashback to when we were at uni and I would come over to yours and Smrit's place and we would have dinner together, and it was like I'm coming and having dinner with you, Smrit, and the entire Friends cast. Because I felt like that was your ritual. You
100%.
Both always sat and watched it. And I know Smrit loves Friends. And so it was this routine or this ritual of having dinner with your mates who are these recurring sitcom characters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the other thing that really makes sitcoms super cool is they become like a cultural phenomenon. So, like you said, we can obviously consume it ourselves, but it also becomes a point where you can bond with others over. You can make references, there can be in-jokes. And when everyone's in on it, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I've got this becomes like a social activity in a way, which is, I think, unlike, you can do that with other shows too, but I think sitcoms become more memorable. And
with social identity, what's really interesting is we start to share those in-jokes, and suddenly we start to see characterizations of these sitcom characters in our friends.
The number of times I've been told, oh, you look like Ross. I am just like, okay. I think it's because I used to do my hair like him a little bit. But.
Must be. And you just had that little nerdy sense to you, perhaps.
Oh, thanks.
Or, you're such a Monica is such a trope as well.
Yes.
Anyone who's organized is, categorized as Monica.
Yeah.
So it became really interesting that we started to see parts of those characters in our friends, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, though, makes a good sitcom, right? Because we've seen so many over the years, and perhaps we like some more than others.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what are the, ingredients of like a good sitcom?
I think historically, when we look at the traditional structure or the structure of a sitcom, first and foremost, it needs to be a really good balance of lightness with interesting relational dynamics. Okay. And I say the word interesting because I think it's not complex.
Right.
So the lightness is instrumental. We want to make sure we preserve the lightness in like kind of a traditional sitcom.
Yeah.
But the relationships are interesting enough that we keep going back, but they're not super complex that we feel distressed as the audience watching it, which I think is what's shifting in a more modern, today type of sitcom trope. We're seeing more like complexity in relationships.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I think we like the emotional tenacity of it. But if we speak more traditionally, I think, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think actually what you were saying there about how I think sitcoms generally center around relationships of characters, right? And what I've observed, and also I think something I've learned from film school is, when you take something like a workplace comedy, and a good example of this is something like Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
Okay. What you do is you build a suite of characters who are bounded by a certain context. The fact that they all work at the same police station.
They're like prisoned.
In a way. But what you have then is like you've got co-workers or colleagues, but their relationships mirror a family. And that becomes a really good template. So if you think Jake Peralta and Captain Holt, it's father and son dynamic, actually, right? Or Jake and Boyle, it's kind of like brothers and best buds, right? And of course, in certain contexts, something like Modern Family, they are family. Fine, right? But that applies to other places too. So take, for example, Abbott Elementary, right? You've got, I think Janine is the main teacher. And then, I can't remember the name of the character, who's sort of like the mentor, the really experienced teacher.
Oh, shoot. What's her name?
You can tell us in the comments what her name is. The point is that it's kind of like a mother and daughter relationship there. You know, even though they're co-workers, there is that sort of underlying current of
relational dynamic at play.
And so it's all about trying to figure out, how am I related to you? You know, are you my uncle? Are you my daughter? Are you my sibling? What are you? And I think you just fit that into a new setting, and you've got inherently like characters who can have chemistry. Or sometimes there's those like the rivals. You know, and those become like, okay, there's chance for conflict and comedy here because they're all vying for the same thing. So when you sort of have an interesting setting that you can revisit, but then you have characters that feel inherently like there's a reason that they get along or the reason they're together, then yeah, you're kind of invested.
It makes for a compelling story that you're invested into and you want to just keep following.
Yeah.
And that point about, you know, those relationships, I think is really paramount, because once we're invested, we also want to follow through with their character arc. Equally, it's about not intensifying those relationships so that they become complex, because inherently, like a child-parent relationship can have complexities. But in a sitcom format, you're not necessarily highlighting the complexities of it. You're showing kind of the playfulness of it. And I think Bolt and Jake are such a great example of that. You know, Bolt can be that like, you know, absent or stoic parent. However, we see that playing out more comically, which I think is important in a sitcom. Because people are watching it to escape the complexities of their relationships in the real world.
I think one thing that happens often is when you have sitcoms that run for multiple seasons, you see characters evolve too, which I think is natural. Like, you don't want to keep seeing the same character over and over again. However, it does feel sometimes that, okay, by season 5 or 6, when the character has changed, is it as funny?
You know who I'm thinking of? I wonder if you're thinking of the same person. I'm thinking of Barney. In How I Met Your Mother. You know, the first few seasons, we think he's so funny. Right? And as he starts to become, I guess, more emotionally aware, the setup for his comedic, his comedic character starts to drift away. And we kind of become invested in him wanting to grow and evolve. However, I think we can all kind of universally agree that where How I Met Your Mother ends up is a little bit flatter than where it started. And I think Barney is one of those like instrumental characters that draws the humor in that.
It's the same thing for Sheldon Cooper.
Right?
It's a very similar thing of like, well, he's such a defined character, right? Someone who's like does not have social skills. Is a genius, but then like over the seasons, you see him becoming more and more human, so to speak. So it really becomes a challenge, I think, for writers and producers to like, how do we still keep this fresh? There are some exceptions to the rule. I think The Office is an exception potentially.
That's true.
You know, it's okay for me if Dwight Schrute does not change. Like, I'm so happy with that, you know. But he obviously does in some ways. And
he does.
So I think that's the interesting part of where sitcoms can be really good and then also like sometimes just fade away towards later seasons. Are there like, I mean, we've seen so many sitcoms. Are there certain tropes or like gags that you're like a bit tired of, that you're like, oh man, not this again?
I think the quintessential will they, won't they is really interesting. And So, we see that in Friends with Ross and Rachel, the will they, won't they trope. You see it in How I Met Your Mother. That sets it up as well with Robin and Ted. You also see it in more modern shows like Superstore with Amy and Jonah, right?
Yeah,
will they, won't they?
Yep.
Michael Scott as well with Holly, like the will they, won't they trope. So
Sure.
that's been really interesting. I am kind of tired of it, though. My one exception of when I think it's been done well in the modern day is Alexis and Ted in Schitt's Creek.
Okay.
Their will they, won't they trope is the most compelling for me as a modern day sitcom lover.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, right.
And I wonder, I'm going to contradict myself, which is I wonder if what's most compelling about them is the emotional depth to their relationship, but also their individual journeys.
Yeah.
And so, there's more nuance to it. And so you're like, okay, in this context, it makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's a tired trope for you?
I think the one thing that comes to mind first is sometimes, and I know Friends was kind of guilty of this, they would just do flashback episodes. Right. Episodes where it's just like a montage of like flashbacks, which is giving exposition.
That was annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think once is okay, but after a while, I felt like I was not sort of in the present, which is what I was looking for when I flipped on an episode of something. So I think flashback episodes were, I got tired of them. And the other thing was, it's very common, especially in American sitcoms, to do like a festive themed.
Yes, I was just
a Thanksgiving episode or a Christmas episode, right? And now I'm okay with them. I understand the reason why they did them, because typically these like sitcoms shows used to release on a weekly basis.
Correct.
And it's like when someone's watching it, if you're celebrating Christmas, then you want your friends and characters on screen to also be celebrating at the same time. So it gives you...
You're sharing in that moment with them.
Right? However, it did feel at times that like they're celebrating Christmas, but it's not as funny. Because you can't make that many...
Is there an example that comes to mind? What's your least favorite Christmas episode?
I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I feel like they would have done, if I'm not mistaken, they would have done a Christmas episode. I think for me, here's my point, right?
Okay.
The episode has to be funny regardless of whether it's Christmas, for me. So I feel like just making it Christmas feels forced.
Okay.
Or making it Thanksgiving feels forced. I mean, yes, there's some iconic points like Joey trying to finish a turkey or something. Like, yes, they're memorable.
Or the Halloween heist in Brooklyn
Halloween
Nine-Nine.
heist, right? So there are exceptions to my rule, of course, but I think maybe I've just seen enough of it.
Yeah.
That moving forward, and especially if it's a show that we're going to see on a streaming platform where I can watch it at any point in time, I don't need it to be timed with a particular festival anymore. So I think what we've seen, great.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to see it more.
I think that's fair. And that point about it being on streaming platforms, I think is really important because your audience is more global now.
Yes.
And so the resonance of a situation or context to a global audience is what I think will promote the rewatchability of a sitcom.
Yeah, true. I think the other thing that's changed with sitcoms having now become available on streaming platforms is, generally viewers will tend to binge them. I mean, a 25-minute episode or something.
That's the lure of it.
Right? But now what's different is when it used to air on TV, as an example, you would have to account for 2 to 3 ad breaks during an episode. So if it's a 30-minute spot, right, you've actually got 20 minutes of the actual content and then you've got little breaks for ads. So what you need to do as a writer is then you need to essentially have like little acts within your episode so that you end, just before you end on the ad break, you give the viewer something to stay on the channel with.
That's a good point.
Either it's a little mini cliffhanger or it's a really funny joke that you're like, oh my God, this is so funny, I need to keep watching. So you need to almost pitch to the viewer, hey, stay tuned and come back after the ad break. You don't need to do that anymore on a streaming platform. So it gives you a bit more liberty to create an arc which just goes from start to finish of the episode. I think that has changed the game a little bit in terms of how stylistically now sitcoms are.
More cohesive storytelling.
Yeah, and I think Schitt's Creek is a really good example of, well, if you watch it back, you will not get every 10 minutes a really big gag. It's a really sort of build and
gradual.
Then there's a whole like situation that gets built for over the 20-30 minutes of the episode.
Correct.
You know, so that's I think what's changing now. Have you noticed anything else different?
I think Schitt's Creek is a really good example of that. And the other, just following on from that, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but sometimes with traditional sitcoms, they would exist as standalone episodes. So they would introduce a problem or a character's dilemma, and by the end of that episode, it's resolved. So say if it was airing on TV and you by chance missed an episode, you would be able to follow along because it's kind of standalone. Equally, now that we've moved on to streaming platforms, you can have continuity from one episode to the other, and you know that an audience is following. So I wonder if that's also changed now.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I think one needs to be prepared for as a creator of a sitcom is the putting the sitcom on as a background noise culture. And I think you do this actually from time to time.
I do. New Girl was one I would do after I watched it through the first time. I think New Girl was a great example of, I know these dynamics at play. I can kind of, fold my laundry or do
so
something
passive
else.
viewing I think is also becoming increasingly prevalent, and I know a lot of producers are now talking about the second screen effect. Are you familiar with that?
Tell us.
Second screen effect is essentially when you anticipate that a viewer is going to be on another screen whilst your sitcom is playing.
Isn't that
so it's like your first screen is your phone, you're responding to a message or checking Instagram or something whilst something is playing on the TV. And so it's like, is this show second screen enough? Is it good enough to keep to allow you to keep following whilst also remaining engaging? And it's which is kind of sad, to be honest, for me.
A little bit.
Because
but I kind of get it.
I get it, but it's a bit sad because then it feels like, are we just sort of giving up that we're not going to make the most compelling television because we don't have the audience's attention? It feels like a little bit of like a waving a white flag scenario. But.
Equally, I can appreciate that in itself is a genre or a style of companionship through television. Right? We need to, I guess, also have those shows that people can keep rewatching and go back to. And I wonder if, funnily, the second screen effect is actually what promotes someone rewatching a series, because they may have not fully gotten things. And so it's like, oh, I kind of missed that when I was watching it first. Lol, that's really funny. So
I think I'm thinking from the perspective of writers. I feel like, well, they're putting an effort, like we should pay attention to watch it. I mean, if you want something passive viewing, watch reality TV. In my
Do you think that's why, modern day comedy writers, I'm thinking Mindy Kaling out loud, with shows like Never Have I Ever, or more recently Running Point, are we seeing that the sitcom trope is now evolving to just very tight comedy series that are limited episodes? So we're kind of seeing a deviation from that binge-worthy sitcom trope. Because writers want to preserve their comedic craft. And as a counter to that second screen effect, I don't know.
It's
I'm not
possible.
sure.
I mean, I think overall with show programming, it's sort of changed. I mean, we don't have 24 episode seasons anymore anyways.
No, we don't.
Right? So even something like a Running Point, if it's 8 episodes, it might come back for a season 2. Like Never Have I Ever came back, right?
Yes.
Although Never Have I Ever, I wouldn't say is a sitcom
No,
per se.
I wouldn't either.
Like 45-minute episode format.
Correct.
But yeah, I think generally limited series are becoming more and more popular because people want to be able to watch something without making a huge commitment. Recently I was watching Lost, right? And I started that thinking, okay, well, this is 6 seasons. Now, I regretted that decision. That's a separate story. But my point was that, like, what I would be much more comfortable doing is, oh, hold on, this is a limited series. I can watch it if I like it. Maybe I'll come around and watch season 2 when it comes out, which is what we're doing with something like maybe, Abbott Elementary. We can check back in when it's around.
Or Nobody Wants This.
Nobody Wants This, great example. Or even the other one we watched, The Inside Man.
Yeah.
That's a good example
That
as
was
well.
a good one.
Yeah. So this kind of stuff, I think, is becoming, I think, more popular, and I think we'll keep seeing this moving forward.
It also tests the audience's receptivity to it.
Yeah.
So I imagine from a producing perspective, we don't have to invest, for like a 6 series
And they never do.
No, they
They
don't.
never do. Networks don't. They always want to make sure.
Check.
Yeah, absolutely. They'd only commission it after it's successful. Yeah.
Which is really interesting because I think when that happens, sometimes as an audience, you lose the opportunity for closure. So your thought just prompted me to think back to Kim's Convenience as an example.
Yes.
So if we remember, the finale of Kim's Convenience was very rushed.
Yeah.
And I think as an audience, you felt a little bit betrayed by the resolutions. You know, we see Shannon and Jung kind of arbitrarily break up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. It's like they're walking up to their family.
Well, I don't remember, and that's maybe quite telling.
Right? And it felt that, you know, we were kind of gypped as an audience because I think at that point you knew it wasn't going to get renewed.
Yes.
And that becomes really interesting when that carrot's held in front of a sitcom series, and then you actually are really disappointed by a finale.
So is that an example of a show you wished had continued, and or is it another show that you'd be like, oh, I feel like it ended too soon?
I was so sad when Schitt's Creek finished.
Oh yeah,
I think you know that.
Yes.
And it was one of those shows, and the thing as an objective viewer is actually them finishing it up there was such a wise decision because it ended on a high.
Yeah.
Right? So as an audience, I mean, the best thing a producer can do is want your audience wanting more.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Equally, as a fan of the show, as someone who's journeyed with those characters multiple times during multiple seasons of my life, is that desire of, oh man, I wish they could continue. And I think there's so many interesting spin-offs. I think, you know, with Dan and Patrick staying in Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Or Alexis leaving and, you know, maybe her coming back could be really, like, they are characters that could have really interesting spin-offs.
Yeah. That's true.
How about you?
Yeah, I think my answer is going to be a little bit boring. But I would have loved another season of The Office with Steve Carell.
Asterix.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think he left in after season 6, I believe. So season 7, 8, and 9 was without him. It was still good, but not the same.
No.
Right? I think his departure sort of took away a huge, draw factor for me. I still watched it, of course, loved it. But yeah, another season with him, I'll take it any day. So I mean, I guess just to put it this way, The Office is that show for me of if I was stuck on a desert island and I've got one show that I get to watch, it's The Office.
I have to agree with you on that. I think I would, without question, take The Office as well.
But I have a bone to pick with you.
Okay.
You say you're an Office fan. You make these claims, but you actually haven't seen The Office UK.
I know.
Which you have to.
Talking about.
Yeah, because it's the original, like, the US one was obviously copied off of the UK one for the first 2 or 3 seasons, and it's funny, it's good.
Okay, let's add it to the list.
So yeah, you must watch that and then take of approval as an Office fan.
As an Office fan. I think that's fair. I can't fully call myself an Office fan
And so they're doing an Office reboot, if you're familiar with, I think
the Australian version.
We're Australian. It's an Australian reboot. Thoughts?
Oh man. I don't know. I think after Australia's claim to fame in sitcoms with Utopia, I feel it's so good.
Yeah.
And I think what really landed with Utopia is that it's so context specific. And Australians can get behind it, and it kind of exemplifies or represents the quirks in that context. And I think there's a global appeal to it. I don't know, the Australian context doing The Office, which already has such a high standard. I don't know, maybe I'm feeling a little bit protective and don't want to feel disappointed. Equally, maybe I should give it a genuine go. And watch it as, you know, a unbiased audience. Do you think you'll give it a go?
I will not be unbiased. Yeah, I think that's the reason I'm not really. It's weird because I'm a huge fan of The Office. I love the mockumentary format.
I know.
I think it's super fun, and
they were the first of their.
One of the first,
Office the first?
I mean, there was Parks and Rec as well, which I'm not sure what order they came in.
But
there's a few, but I think The Office is a league above everything else. And for that reason, I'm hesitant to watch the Australian one, because I'm like, I don't want them to ruin what I love.
I know.
But maybe, I don't know. I've seen like promos, so maybe I should give it a proper go. At least watch 1 or 2 episodes and then make an informed decision. Yeah.
So the thing about sitcoms that we love is they pick contexts or settings that are, you know, very specific or very unique. So Brooklyn Nine-Nine with the prison, Scrubs set in a hospital, Superstore at like a superstore, right? Yeah. So, okay, say that you get a golden ticket or a pass to go on set as a character to your favorite sitcom and insert yourself. Which one are you going to?
Okay. I get to go on set and do I get to be a
You're
character?
a cameo.
Oh, I'm a cameo?
Yeah.
So I'm in the world.
You're in the world. You're getting your like Brad Pitt on Friends moment.
I like this. Okay. Wow, there's so many to choose from. Yeah.
The first one that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be your best one because I know that's putting pressure.
I'd probably go Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, The Office was my first stop, but I've said The Office enough. So just to vary up and diversify my responses, I'm going to go Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I can see you on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, I think I would make a great detective. But my one condition would be I don't want to be like the Vulture. I don't want to be a rival. I want to be someone...
Oh, you want to be likable. You're a people pleaser.
I figured it out. Okay, here's my episode. Right, Nalin on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So the way it goes is Jake and Boyle doing their thing, best buds. Right.
Love it.
Doug Judy comes in. Right? Wow, Jake and Doug Judy doing their thing, best buds. But then Nalin comes in.
And
Doug Judy and Boyle are jealous because Nalin and Jake are now new best buds. Right?
Poor Boyle. Everyone just wants to cameo to make him
So then
jealous.
they have to collude because they never get along. They have to like work together
that's really
to foil and reveal the truth about why Nalin and Jake can't be best buds. Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's my episode.
I actually really love that.
Thank you.
And both of you have main character energy a little
100%.
bit.
This is, I'm copyrighting anyone. Do not take this idea. Yeah.
I can totally see that.
So that's my response, but what is yours?
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm a big sucker for medical dramas.
Oh my
typically.
God, yes.
So I think it goes without question that I would love to be on the set of Scrubs.
As a doctor or as a patient?
As a doctor, I'd probably be like the intern who comes in and I'm, you know, or I'm assigned to Dr. Cox. And, you know, I don't know, maybe I like am this like real type A, high achieving doctor who knows everything. And I kind of make Dr. Cox a little bit insecure.
Ooh.
So
we both are coming in with a lot of main character, like we're going to break
kind of very unlike us.
Yeah.
I think in ordinary circumstances, I would be like totally trying to people please Dr. Cox and be like, what can I say to make him love me?
Yeah, I think that's more in line with your character of like someone who's like, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the one that Mr. Cox likes.
But Dr. I want to do a dance cameo with Elliot, you know, when she does the like, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so.
Nice. I can see that. That sounds fun too. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Oh man. Or I would want to be besties with Alexis.
Really?
I don't know that we would be friends in real life though. I think that's the thing. I don't think I'm cool enough for her.
Okay. Well, in your imaginary world, you are cool enough for everyone. So
thanks, Nalin.
So, yeah, it's an imaginary. Okay, so I want to get to the sort of fun segment.
Let's do it.
We've got a segment, by the way. We're that kind of show where we have segments. Okay, so this segment, Geetu, is called Pick Your Favorites. Okay, all right, so we've got a bowl. And what's in the bowl, Geetu?
I was going to say goldfish. I don't know why.
It's not a goldfish. Why would that be a goldfish? Anyways, I will tell you what's in the bowl. So in this bowl are chits. And each chit has a little prompt on it.
Nice.
So we're going to take turns drawing a chit. And you have to respond to that prompt.
Perfect. I think you should start.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. So... favorite sitcom character?
Oh.
Okay. This is a very, very big call, but I'm very confident in saying my favorite sitcom character of all time. Oh, I can't say it, can I? I can say it. I'm gonna have to say 2. Okay, there's 2 here.
What is happening?
I'll tell you why. They're gonna rank. I just can't not mention the second one.
Okay.
First one, Michael Scott.
100%.
If you disagree, comment, and then we'll take this
chat.
offline. Yeah.
We'll take this offline.
Second character, Dwight Schrute.
100%.
I think they are a match made in heaven. So,
and isn't it funny how Dwight Schrute or Rainn Wilson now is this like podcaster who's, you know.
And so here's why. I think the fact that I like Dwight Schrute so much is because of Rainn Wilson's performance of him.
100%.
It's unparalleled. Like nobody can make, I don't think anyone can do a character like Dwight Schrute.
No.
Ever. So that's my response. What about you?
Agreed. Okay. Oh, I have to go.
Yeah,
I have to answer.
Favorite sitcom character?
Favorite sitcom character. Okay, the first name that came to mind was genuinely Chandler Bing.
Oh, Chandler Bong.
Chandler Bong.
Nice.
I think his contribution to comedic moments in Friends is unmatched, especially his relationship with Joey.
Yeah.
You know, I think
everyone
Matt
wants a best
Perry,
friend like that. Right?
I know,
Yeah.
just such a stellar performance.
True.
Chandler Bing would be one of them. And secondly, in more modern day sitcoms, I would say, oh man, I don't know. It would be either Alexis or Dan.
Okay, it's David, not Dan.
Oh, what?
Dan
Dan Levy.
Yeah.
Dan Levy. Or Alexis.
So which one, Alexis or David?
Alexis.
All right, your turn.
Okay. Favorite song or musical piece?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna sound like a big Schitt's Creek fangirl, but obviously it's nah. A little bit Alexis.
It's such a banger.
I actually know what yours is gonna be, but let's see if I guess it right.
Okay, all right. Tell me if you guess it right. I had a fair few to think of, and I'm probably gonna miss the best one right now. But I'm gonna name the one that is front of mind.
Okay.
Which is from How I Met Your Mother.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking.
Right?
Of.
It's Let's Go to the Mall. Let's go to the mall, baby. Absolutely.
You
Robin
were
Sparkles.
so obsessed with Let's Go to the Mall.
Yep.
I remember it was like your 21st.
Yeah, you
I
guys
have
did
a strong
dance or
feeling we
something.
danced to that song.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Okay, keep going.
Nice. All right. Next one is favorite sitcom finale. Wow, this is tough. I'm gonna go classic here, and I'm gonna say Friends.
No, I'm
Yeah.
gonna say Friends too.
That's cool. We can say Friends together. I think it's just after you watch 10 seasons, and it's like a very emotional,
It
very
is.
full circle kind of moment, you know. And then the last line is Chandler Bing's joke, where they walk out of the apartment,
Uh-huh.
and then they're like, "Do you guys want to grab coffee somewhere?" And then they're walking out, and he goes, "Where?" And it's like, great, you know, happy ending there. That's
Such
awesome.
a good ending.
Yeah. So Friends.
Yeah, Friends is a great one. Should we go to the next one?
Let's do it.
Favorite cold open?
Ooh, all right.
I mean, The Office had such good cold opens,
course.
right? Jim's gags with Dwight are unmatched. So
Yeah.
I really love the one where he wraps all of Dwight's furniture, like his table and everything.
Yeah, you gift wrapped it. Yeah,
I don't fully remember how it eventuates, but I just remember Dwight being outraged.
Yes. That was a good one. My choice is also from The Office. It's the one where they start doing parkour.
Oh my god, that one is so good.
So good. Parkour. Fantastic.
That is so good.
Love it. Okay. Favorite line or joke
Okay,
from a sitcom? Yeah.
you go first.
Favorite. Oh, I know. Oh my god, I'm gonna sound like such an Office nerd, but this is also from The Office.
It's so quotable.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is for me, this is the funniest joke. So the context is Michael Scott's at Phyllis and Bob's wedding.
Oh my god.
He gets up to do a speech which was uncalled for. And so he starts his speech. I can't even say it. He starts his speech by saying, the Oxford Dictionary defines wedding.
Oh my god.
The Oxford Dictionary defines wedding as the fusion of two hot metals. And the joke is so funny because he's looked up welding instead of wedding. And what I love is that obviously, logically, welding is probably right next to wedding in the dictionary, but it also kind of works in his speech as like the fusion of two hot metals, because then he goes on to say, I think you both are two hot metals or something like that.
Yeah.
It is, and the funniest thing for me. That's my favorite.
It's so good. Okay, what was the question again?
The favorite line or joke?
Okay, I was thinking of Bo Thompson from Superstore. I just want to shout out to Bo Thompson.
Dude, what a guy.
An iconic character. And unfortunately, I can't think of like one specific line, but he always used to go like, "Ba, ba, ba, ba."
Honestly, well, I lived for that moment.
So iconic,
So good,
right?
so good.
I think he was so funny
Yeah.
in Superstore.
The best thing they did was they only sprinkled him in.
That's a good point.
I think oversaturation of him would have killed that character's vibe. So I wanted to see more of him, but they gave it to me in like right doses.
And I feel like his pairing with Cheyenne was just tip top. It was good.
Great casting.
Great casting.
All right. Oh no, it's yours.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite episode? I'm going to go to Friends, obviously.
Oh, yeah?
And one of my favorite episodes is Ross's I'm Fine episode.
Yes.
Which is so good. He's just like...
Yeah, he's had a bit too much margarita or something.
He's had too many margaritas.
Yeah. Love it.
So
that's great.
That's one of my favorites.
Nice. I think thinking in Friends as well, I've always sort of stated that my favorite episode is called the one with the embryos. And it's the one where I think Phoebe's off at the doctor's because she's getting... she's going to become like... She's going to become a surrogate for her stepbrother.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But the rest of the gang are back at their home and they're doing this like Jeopardy game to see who knows who better, and the stakes are like the apartment. It was so fun.
But also such a great high stakes moment.
Yeah. So fun to watch.
That was a great episode.
I used to say that's my favorite Friends episode, and it's probably the one I don't know if it's my favorite episode of all time across all sitcoms, but I'm happy for that to be my answer.
The top one.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. I think only two more. Favorite cameo. Oh, favorite cameo in
Come
a
on,
sitcom.
Nalin.
Wow. I'm trying to think. There's a lot.
There's so many.
I'm at a loss.
Mine would be Brad Pitt in Friends.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just think it's really funny how it's that time where Ross is still trying to get on Rachel's good books. Am I right?
Yes.
And it's revealed that they had like a I Hate Rachel club.
Yeah.
And it's obviously funnier because Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were in a relationship at that point.
Yeah.
But I think that was one of my favorite cameos.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. Oh man, I'm struggling.
You'll have to tell us in the comments. You'll have to come back to it.
Okay. All right. Well, last one.
Favorite theme or holiday episode?
Okay.
I know.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Halloween Heist.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That one's a really good one. Although they did do like so many iterations of it.
Oh, no. I have to say another one.
Okay, go.
This is not a...
Oh, I have one too.
Okay.
Wait, was it a theme? Go.
So okay. I guess I have to concede that this is not exactly a festival, but this was a very sort of... I don't even know if this answers the question.
It's okay. Go.
The paintball episode in Community.
Are you joking? I was just thinking Community as well.
Such a good, it was like, I was like, wow, Community, when I saw that episode.
That is so, I was literally thinking of the same moment. That's the one where they make the
entire campus becomes like a massive paintball game.
Yeah. Oh, is that the same episode where they do the sleepover and they make the forts?
It might be that one. Yeah.
I really like that one.
It goes for like days.
Yeah.
Well, they do it a couple of times. I think they do a similar trope.
Yeah.
That one is so good.
Shout out to Community.
Community is revolutionary.
Actually, Troy and Abbott in the morning.
Yeah. It was so good. So good. Yeah.
Nice. That's it.
All right. So I think as we wrap up, what I want to know from you is if you were to, I guess, give someone a hot tip about sitcoms, whether it's something to watch, like an underrated sitcom that you'd recommend them watching, or just something about like, look out for this. What would your hot tip be to an audience?
I would say if you haven't watched Utopia, to give Utopia a go.
Yes.
And with that particular series, watch a few episodes in because it takes a little while to understand the people and the context.
Yes.
And because it's not American, I think it takes a little bit more time to get a buy-in. But I would say give Utopia a real genuine go. I think it sits quite high at, I think, one of the best modern day sitcoms.
Yeah, and I think probably the best one to come out of Australia as well.
I agree.
There was the other one that we watched in Australia about with Kitty Flanagan playing that lawyer.
That was fabulous.
Fisk, which is also quite nice, but yeah, Utopia
Do you
takes the
think
cake.
it is considered a sitcom yet? I mean, they've got two seasons.
I think it is. I think it's a sitcom. It would classify as one. But yeah, Utopia is a great shout. Great shout. I think along those lines, I would also probably throw in the IT Crowd.
Oh my God, we haven't even talked about the IT Crowd.
Yeah, the IT Crowd is, I mean, it's slightly older now, but I think it's, for people who like British humor, I think it's a perfect fit. There's actually a lot of, back in the day, sort of British sitcoms that were very popular. I actually watched some of them at a very young age. So something like Mr. Bean.
That's true.
Mr. Bean is like
true.
You know, the classic, right?
A caricature, right?
Yeah, but it's a sitcom, right? If you think about it. Then there's also something like, I don't know if you've seen Mind Your Language.
I have.
Mind Your Language is so funny.
I know. That is actually a sitcom I wish got renewed.
Oh.
Because they didn't do that many seasons, right?
Maybe like 3 seasons?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was, I don't think it would, to be honest, I don't think it would fare well in today's world.
That's true.
But for its time, it was very funny. You know, so they had quite a few really good sitcoms back in the day. And then I think the America sort of came in and took over the space a bit more.
You know which other show we haven't named?
Yeah.
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah. Everybody Loves Raymond is like, I mean, there's so many, right? There's Seinfeld. Like, Seinfeld
my God.
Like the biggest one there probably ever was. There's also Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes, that was the show I didn't get around to.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, I mean.
I'll have to watch some clips.
Yeah, it's one that I think for its time was probably huge, huge, but now may not be as fun to watch.
Yeah.
Especially given how we perceive Will Smith today.
That's true.
But it was a great show. And I think what I loved about it also was it didn't shy away from doing episodes with greater depth. You know, it was very funny, ha, ha, ha. And then there would be like an episode where it's like, wow, hold on, this is serious. And it became almost like a social impact kind of show.
Would that be your hot tip then? What would your takeaway for?
I think for someone who likes sitcoms, watch the IT Crowd. Just
You're really gonna leave it at that?
Yeah. I don't want to say more than that. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, this has been so fun to watch.
So nostalgic.
Yeah, so nostalgic.
I kind of I'm feeling all the warm and fuzzies of actually watching all of these sitcoms.
It's almost like we're remembering old friends.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a sitcom that you want to watch that we haven't watched?
Well, I have been seeing some good feedback about Ghost.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was a British sitcom series, and then there's also an American spin-off to it.
Oh,
so
interesting. Okay.
I have no idea what it's about.
I think one that I've heard of, which I have not watched, you haven't watched, and I actually don't know anything about, is called Veep. And it's apparently very, very funny. It's starring, I believe, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, if that's her name. Elaine, the woman who plays Elaine in Seinfeld. She's the sort of main lead on this one, and I think it's set in a political environment.
Oh, cool!
But yeah, we should figure out how to watch that. And
okay, sounds good. Veep.
Yeah,
add it to our list.
Awesome, nice. Well, thank you, Geetu, for hanging and for chatting about all these sitcoms that really sort of makes me nostalgic a little bit, but also like felt like we were revisiting some old friends in the process. So,
I agree. This was so wholesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you all for tuning in to this episode. We had so much fun talking about it. I hope you all enjoyed too. I'd love to know what your favorite episode of a sitcom is, so drop that in the comments. And as always, like and share it with others. We'd love to share the love and spread the joy. And if you can, subscribe, because you know what? It's the right thing to do. So we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye!
Bye!